Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica. I am a nurse and a caregiver, and I own a company, a business called The Everyday Nurse. And the goal of my business is to help support family caregivers who are working and trying to raise their own family while caring for their loved ones. They're typically their parents at the same time. So, what I'm coming to you today is just introduce myself to you, let you know what I do, and how I hope to build a little bit of a community here for each other. So, my background is I'm a nurse. I've been in the nursing field for over 20 years, and I am going to be sharing my experience as a case manager. So, I had a lot of time in the case management inpatient side in the hospital, and I helped all different types of patients who are in the hospital get ready for the next level of care, whether that was for skilled care, whether that was for nursing home, whether that was for home with home health care, hospice, or anything like that. So that knowledge that I have, I really wanted to make sure that I share with everyone, because what I was finding is that families were coming into the hospital not knowing a lot of the information that I had and that they needed to know about their loved ones getting ready for the next level of care. So again, I'm hoping just that we can share information and you guys can let me know what you need from me, and we can build a little bit of a community. So I take care of my mother, who has end-stage liver disease, and she is on a transplant list for a liver. And I also have a developmentally delayed younger brother who I'm the guardian for because my mother's too ill to be able to care for. My mom does live at home with my older brother, but I am the main medical caregiver for her. So, a little bit about what's been happening this weekend is she tried to get up on her own at home with her walker and lost her balance, became dizzy, and fell. We determined very early on that she was not going to be able to even get up from her chair to get to the bathroom. Her ankle was too sore. She hurt her ankle and her ribs. And so we decided that she was going to have to go to the hospital. Took her to the hospital. And after x-rays, realized that she had broken her heel, which, of course, as everyone knows, for an elderly person becomes quite the predicament, especially because they always want to go home. So the physician said to me, we're going to put an air cast on her foot, and she can go home with her walker and be non-weight bearing, and she can hop to the bathroom, and then we'll get home care out to the house. So after some discussion with him, I let him know that that was not a feasible option for us because her left arm and wrist could not maintain her body weight. She had had a fracture in her left wrist in the past, and she had some hardware in there that was no longer working. So for her to bear weight on that wrist was unrealistic. Really, what she needed was she needed a platform walker. We didn't have that. They didn't have access to that. So we had determined that it was important for them to admit her to the hospital. So many people don't know that the status of how an elderly person gets admitted could affect the next level of care. So if my mother was admitted as an observation and it was decided that she might need some rehab in a rehab facility for physical strengthening, observation status, Medicare will not cover rehab under observation status. So as it would seem, just as a fall does not allow for the hospital to admit you as a full admission. If you fall and trip over something and break an ankle, that's no reason to really be in the hospital, unless there's some other sort of medical condition that goes along with that. Well, she has many other medical conditions. So I did ask that he look into the reason why she stood up and became dizzy. He should run some labs. She often has electrolyte imbalances, urinary tract infections, different rationale that will cause her some dizziness. So he agreed and ran some labs and said that based on her, fragility and the lab results that were off, and the fact that we were looking into why she did become dizzy to fall would be enough to admit her to the hospital. So that is the first thing that I recommend to people when a loved one goes to the emergency room is why are they going? And do they have the potential care that they're going to need at home based on the reason they went to the hospital? So if somebody goes to the hospital, to the emergency room, um, because they have the flu and they're, 46 years old, they're not going to need to worry about their admission status as much as if a 85-year-old person goes to the emergency room with the flu, because then you're thinking they're going to become deconditioned, and who do they live with? Who's going to help them at home? Is it their 87-year-old spouse who is frail as well? So while I realize family members are not thinking of this at the time that they're entering the emergency room, I do think that it's important to start thinking about the discharge when you get admitted or soon after you get admitted to the hospital stay. Every situation is different. Every, emergency room visit is different. Obviously, if there's a heart attack involved or some sort of, horrible crisis that's going on, you're not going to be thinking about that. But as soon as you can get your wits about you to start kind of debriefing about the situation, what's happening, what's going to be happening next, what are the potential future needs, I do encourage you to start thinking about what level of care was the patient admitted to. Were they in observation or were they in admission? Because Medicare requires that if someone needs rehab, that they're in the hospital for 3 nights under full admission status. So you cannot have observation, cannot be woven into those 3 nights. So if you're in the hospital 1 night as observation, you still need 3 nights as an inpatient in order to qualify for rehab. While that's fine, you need to have a medical reason to stay in the hospital for 3 nights as well. So let's say you have a medical issue that comes up and you're admitted as a full admission, but it's resolved in 2 nights, but you need that 3rd night for rehab. So there's all different types of scenarios that can come up that can affect someone's admission to a rehab facility, a nursing home where they have rehab, so that you can get back to the level of care that you were living at before you came into the hospital. So that was the first thing that I made sure of. So once we found out she had a break, we got her medication, we got her some food, we knew that she was medically stable. They decided to admit her to the hospital. That was fine. I went home to feed my family and help get my kids to bed. And, I knew she'd be in good hands. So today is Sunday, and what I wanted to do was to get to the hospital, obviously, to, check on my mom and see how things were going, how she was feeling, how her pain was, and talk to the orthopedic doctor to see what the situation was going to be regarding that break. So I wanted to talk to the doctor. And then another thing that I always do is double check the medications with the nurse against the list of meds that I have, because I will tell you 10 to 1, unfortunately, they're different. And sure enough, they had an old list of medications for my mom. Even though I brought my list of meds with yesterday, they still had a different list in the system compared to what I was giving her, currently. So I went through each med with the nurse. We made some adjustments. She called the physician. I double checked the admission status that she was in. And I was there for when the orthopedic doctor came, and we determined that she was, in fact, going to be non-weight bearing on that heel for at least 4 weeks. So I wanted to confirm some things. Of course, I haven't included the fact that I was very upset about the whole situation because she was doing so well, and any kind of setback with our parents is difficult. She was very upset about it. She was very remorseful, and I felt really bad for her. So that was an emotional situation. But because I've been through this so many times with her, I knew that I needed to either get my emotions out, work through those, because when my emotions are really high, I have a hard time thinking rationally. And so what I knew I needed to do was think rationally about what the next step was going to be for her. So if she was non-weight bearing, how was she going to get to the bathroom? And her getting to the bathroom is a priority for her disease status, as it is for anybody. But I mean, with her liver disease, she takes medication that prompts her to use the restroom more often than someone else would. And so if she doesn't do that, the toxins build up in her system and she gets confused. So she has a different rationale for needing to make sure that she can physically be able to get to the bathroom, or that there'd be somebody there to assist her. So my older brother doesn't do that kind of thing. He does the household stuff. He maintains the house, helps with meals, grocery shopping, that kind of thing. I'm more of the physical, caregiver, get the dirty stuff going. I'm that person. So I also work full time. Now, I could take some time off to be with her, but the reality of me being able to take 4 weeks off is not, I'm not able to do that for her. So then what do we do? Can she make sure she gets herself up into the bathroom independently while being non-weight bearing? Because if she bears weight on that heel, it's just going to take longer to heal. Well, that's not a good situation for her. She does have a caregiver that comes in 2 hours, 5 days a week. So I'm trying to think through all these scenarios. The caregiver is only going to be there for 2 hours. We could increase the care, but then who's going to take care of her at night if she needs to go to the bathroom? All of these things are going through my head. I'm trying to weigh everything out because I do know that my mom wants to be at home ultimately. That is her goal, is always to get home. While I want to provide that for her, she's not able to come to my house because I have stairs. And obviously she can't get up and down the stairs. And the bathroom that I have downstairs, she would not be able to get in and out of with a large walker. So it just isn't a feasible option. So then I'm left with either I get 24-hour care, or I assure that she is a full admission for the potential of going to a nursing home for a rehab stay. Now, I, of course, have to get her to agree to all of this, which is a kicker for some people, but my mother does understand that if she goes home and she can't get herself to the bathroom, she's going to fall, make the situation worse, and she's going to be in the hospital even longer. So she does understand that. Now, it's taken me a long time to get to that point with her. I'm not saying that that's an easy path either, but my point of this video is just to tell you guys a little bit about all these things that have been going through my head since yesterday afternoon when we took her to the emergency room. I don't expect the every average day person to know these things and to be thinking about these things when their loved one gets admitted to the hospital. That is how I came up with the Everyday Nurse. People don't know this information. People my age who are working full time, raising their kids, helping to take care of their parents, don't know the Medicare rules and the ins and outs of what they need to know in order to get the care that they need for their family member. So that was where the Everyday Nurse came from, and the consulting and coaching business came from, because I wanted to be able to support caregivers in this, for lack of a better word, sandwich generation. If you've heard that before, sandwich generation. We're sandwiched between taking care of our kids and taking care of our parents. And so I want to get this information out to you where it can be useful. So I'll walk you through as I go through this process with my mom. She's not even been in the hospital 24 hours yet. But she is medically stable right now. She has been admitted as a full admission. I have reviewed her medications with the nurse and let her know what medications, pain medications, work best for my mom, and what it's super important that they make sure happens as she goes to the restroom frequently, whether that's bedpan or commode. And they did order physical therapy. So each day I will be reviewing, did any med changes happen? How much pain medicine has she been taking? Is she moving in the bed? Just all these little things that I might know as a nurse, but you might not know. So that's my goal here, is just to make sure that I get the information out to you as the person caught in the middle of this sandwich. And I'd love to answer any questions that you might have for me. So welcome to the Everyday Nurse. I also have a coaching and consulting business. You can head over to theeverydaynurse.com if you're interested in speaking with me to find out more. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be sure to answer them the next time I come on. Take care.